Hello and welcome to a fondling of Tears to Tiara 2, Heir of the Overlord. So now this is an interesting game. I believe this is a sequel to the Eroge, which means it has sexual, illicit contents. It was originally released, I think, on the PC. Well, the first one was. And then the sequel, now it's an old-age game, like a strategy RPG slash visual novel kind of game. So yeah, it's a sequel to a hentai game that makes it into... Is it a hentai game? If it... I don't know how the classification works, because there are games that are basically just porn, and there are games that just happen to have those kind of content, but aren't really considered that because, you know, it's like a very small fragment of what it is. Kind of like calling Mass Effect games like porn because you can have sex in them. But at the same time, I guess the visualization of the sex acts is a lot more explicit, so it makes a lot more sense. Well, that's a discussion for another time. And this is a game entirely of its own, so let's go ahead and take a look. They say press the start button, but I can press the X button. Yeah, I do what I want, okay? So, for the purpose of this video, I'll try not to spoil too much of the story, I guess. I'll talk about a little bit of the game, what makes it really different from the other SRPGs on the market. Well, first of all, I will say that the strategy RPG element of the game is rather simple, but it has some really nice little touches that I quite enjoy. Should I go into a story mission, or should I do like a training field kind of thing? Yeah, let's just go straight into a story mission. That way I can talk about the amount of dialogue and the exposition in this game, because that's a huge factor to whether or not you can enjoy this game. So this game, above all else, has some of the most dialogue I've ever seen in a video game in a long time. It's all fully voiced in Japanese. It doesn't have English voice acting, unfortunately. But obviously, you know, I think for these kind of games, Japanese with English subtitles is usually better. But at the same time, it would have been nice to just have everything English voice. And yeah, as you can see, it's told in a very visual novel style, but it does have the 3D rendered characters in the background in their chibi form, which is, you know, kind of like a deformed for, you know, deformed size for cuteness and all that stuff. Let me turn the sound down on my end to see if you can hear as well. So SRPGs in general are very similar in that way. They have a little bit of exposition, a little bit of story. You go to the menu, you know, just check out your party, equip them with new items and stuff like that, and you basically go into the next mission where you do another fight. You have a little bit of more exposition, then you have fighting. You have a little bit of a downtime when you can either choose to train up your guys some more and free battles or things like that. I mean, if you played other SRPGs like Final Fantasy Tactics, Fire Emblem, you'll kind of know what to expect. And I would say this game is a lot more comparable to Fire Emblem. I mean, not Fire Emblem, Final Fantasy Tactics style of games compared to Fire Emblem, which has that marquee permadeath thing going for it. And this game doesn't have that. I don't think there's a difficulty that allows you to have that either. And that's good and bad. I mean, I really like the most recent Fire Emblem games and all, but not every game has to follow in its footsteps, I think. And this game does kind of its own thing. But yeah, I'm just gonna let this play out, and you'll see what I mean. I think before I actually started this game, to the point where I could open up a menu and start doing stuff with my party and characters, it took me about 3-4 hours to get to that point. There's just a ton of dialogue, exposition, and story in this game. And I'll say that this game has a pretty interesting story. It's not inspired in any way. I think it's a very simple story of rebellion, revenge, and all that stuff. But the way it's handled, it's taken very seriously. All the characters have multiple dimensions. No one's really. I guess some minor characters are kind of one-dimensional, but the main characters are all very interesting. Like the main character plays the part of a fool until he basically can't take it anymore. So he just made himself look like an idiot so that no one would pay attention while he was kind of scheming up this plan to save his people and possibly maybe even sacrifice himself. And the goddess Tarte, or Estarte, she talks big. She's very pompous and haughty, but at the same time she hides like a deep inferiority complex, because she's not able to do a lot of things that she believes a goddess should be able to do to help her followers and servants and stuff like that. It's all very interesting. I like the characters. I'm enjoying the story so far. Even the villains have their own ulterior motives and stuff like that. So yeah, it's good. I mean, it has to be good, right? Because how can you enjoy a game with this much story if there wasn't any kind of intrigue involved? And there certainly is. But at the same time, the pacing in which corpses of women and children killed indiscriminately were stacked on top. Ooh, that's not very nice. Okay, now I'm reading stuff. I'm getting distracted. Now I forgot what I was gonna say. Yeah. But anyway, I'm only at chapter 3 when I'm recording this video. But yeah, there's a lot of things have happened already. I feel like something that happens in chapter 1 oftentimes happens at the end of games, because of how significant it is. But it actually ends up becoming a foundation as a starting point, which is interesting. The Japanese voice acting is actually quite exaggerated, but at the same time, it's very energetic. I like it. Thanks for listening to me go on. I guess that works. And I mean, as you can see, the actual graphics themselves are very underwhelming for a PS3 game. It actually looks like a good PS2 game, I guess, or like a decent PS2 game. I think I've seen better graphics on PS2 than this. But still, I mean, it's a strategy RPG game. You don't really play these kind of games for the graphics. You play that for the strategy element and maybe for the story and all stuff like that. And it does have that. And once I actually finally get into a battle, I'll explain some of the interesting aspects of the battle, which I enjoy. I actually have the thing going on autoplay, so basically it just does all the dialogue by itself. It just kind of autoplays all the stuff, which is nice. It's interesting because when I play RPGs, I get into moods where I like hearing the voice acting and the words, and I just kind of go along with it. Even if I can read the words pop up a lot faster than the voice actors can actually finish what they're saying, it's still, I don't know. It's a bit of like an experience. I still think she's too young to be fighting in wars, but hey. And you'll be joining it soon, Sal.
俺はルスチャニアの出身だからな。近くのタルテトスには行ったことがあるぜ。あそこの紙を命令書に使っただろう。変だなと思ってたが、最初はさほど気にしては。
This guy's smarter than he seems.
でもまあ、こんなおせっかいな連中が帝国の監査団なわけがないってことはバカでもわかるだろう。だとしたら、
よく見たな。続きはいろんなことが片付いたからでよかろう。おおらかに見えて意外と細かいところに気づくおじさんですね。
こう見えても小心者のお兄さんなんでな。じゃあ行くぜ。アルティオをさらった奴隷商人をぶっ飛ばしにな。
What is he? Is he our leader now all of a sudden? Alright. Let's whoop some ass. Maybe. Probably. Actually, no. We probably have more like 20 minutes of dialogue before we actually get to fighting. But hey. The good thing is, I guess you can fast forward through stuff if you really want to. But I think you've been missing a big part of what this game, well, what makes this game interesting.
明日は戦場になるというのに商売熱心なことだ。
なに、蛮族ともつながってるからよ。そこら辺は心得たもんよ。夜明けにはたたむさ。それより用事はなんだい?
I think your name of slave trader was enough to show off how evil you are. You didn't have to do an evil laugh like
仕事の疲れを癒す麻薬の類か。ムカつくやつを証拠なしに殺せる毒薬なんかもあるぜ。それとも黒魔術で呪いをかけるか。さあ、何が欲しい？
お前たちが昨日さらった蛮族の娘がいるはずだ。
Ooh, right to the point.
あれを返してほしい。
わしらに立てついたあの女か。あれはダメだ。
He admits it right away. Interesting.
なぜだ？
事情ってやつをわしらも多少は理解してるからよ。戦争を起こせばたくさんの奴隷と死体が生まれる。わしらにとっては大儲けできる。むざむざ返すと思うか。
やむをえん。やはり力ずくか。
いいのかい？わしらに立てつくってことは神聖帝国に逆らうってことだぜ。ゴルメスの製造は神聖教団の最優先命令となる。
Golmas is our kind of Golmas is Golmas. Golmas sounds like a dude's name, but Golmas is basically golems. I don't know why they didn't just say golems, but hey, we want to be different. Shuffle those letters around.
長いものに巻かれてりゃいいものよ。俺ども、出会え！
Oh no. An ambush.
こいつら生きて返すな。何？殺しても死体は金になる。
No, we'll see about that.
僕たちも商品ってわけか。ゾッとするね。くそ、絶対死体にはならねえからな。
Comic relief.
遠慮することはねえよ。おお、そうだ。もう一人助っ人がいたな。さあ、出てくるがいい。
まさかお前は。お姉ちゃん、気をつけて。様子が変です。
Is she being controlled or something? Yeah, I guess so.
殺してやる。
Ah, the things you gotta do to get new party members.
彼女に何をした？
いい薬だろ。 一時的に意識を混濁させて敵と味方を分からなくするのだ。
I don't know, that sounds pretty dangerous to have her around if she can't tell her enemies from... So maybe she attacks everyone? Okay, she better attack everyone.
殺してやる殺してやるとも
奴隷商人め許さん。
こうなればアルティオとも戦うしかないか。
I don't think this game is as complex as 2.
殺してはなりません。
Okay, so this is a battle where I have to kill the other dudes while avoiding to kill her.
彼女の回復にかけるしかありませんね。
大丈夫。僕たちならできる。アルティオを助け、戦争も止めてみせるさ。おうとも。それができなきゃ帝国に勝つなんて夢のまた夢だよな。やってやるさ。
Okay, here we go. I'll start explaining a bit of the combat. Bonus, open all treasure chests. Elimination of friendly forces, RTO or Sal KO'd. So Sal and RTO needs to survive at all costs. Alright. Tarte. I do like my casters. Sorry, Dion, you get the short end of the stick. Maybe it's not the short end of the stick, because, I mean, he doesn't have to fight for his life, right? So, I guess it's more beneficial than bad. Okay, well, that's deployment. Let's see what the layout of the battlefield looks like. Where's RTO? She's down here. She's actually quite strong. So holding her at bay is gonna be rather difficult, actually. So I have to defeat the enemy leader. Who's the enemy leader? So I'm just gonna make a beeline towards the enemy leader. Yeah, slave trader, this guy right here. So I'm just gonna murder that guy really, really fast, while ignoring most other enemies in my path. That sounds like a plan. Let's reconfigure the battlefield so I don't get killed too easily. And, okay, let's have a go. Deploy. Let's see, how strong is Saul? Actually really strong. Oh, I can't control him. Poop. Alright. Everyone just go forward. As is the case with most strategy RPGs, positioning is key. And the interesting thing about this game is that each character has a radius of sorts. A lot of interruptions today. Perhaps I picked a bad time to be recording this video. But anyway, getting back to it. Each character has a radius of influence. The yellow squares there, enemies cannot pass through those. They have to stop and they have to attack and then they can get passed through. So if I were to set up like kind of like a barrier of sorts in front of me, then they cannot pass through those allies that I set up in the front line to get behind to attack my other guys. It's a good way to kind of set up a field where you cannot be hurt by enemies. So let's say, for example, the Spore. Normally, he would be able to move straight through here and then have a radius about here in order to move around, attacking my casters, which would be bad. But since I have set up Emil right here, he cannot go through. And because I set up this guy, whose name is very, very difficult to pronounce, he also cannot get past here as well. So it's a good way to go. I think actually this guy can still hit. No, can't hit that Inaz either. So positioning is very important, as is the case with most games, I suppose. Let's go ahead and start taking enemies out in this. And the game actually tells you the hit rate and the damage that you're gonna do if it does hit. So 158 is perfectly fine for taking this guy out in one shot. So let's go ahead and do that. I've noticed magic casters in general are very powerful in this game, so I tend to use them a lot. Let's see, this guy's radius of movement is right about here, and he's using a... Oh, he's using a bow. Oh, so he's gonna actually get some hits off. Damn, that's annoying. That's okay. I'll manage. And yes, I have an elephant. It's not particularly strong right now, but hey, it's an elephant. It's a large body I can throw at people. I guess I can also make some people ride the elephant too, giving them increased defense and HP, but for now it doesn't matter. What is this? I guess it's a buff. And you do counterattack based on your weapon and positioning. That's gonna hurt. She doesn't have a lot of life, so I have to be careful about that. Let's plow through these guys as fast as I can. What's the most efficient way to handle this? I guess I'll have Tarte attack this, 168, that's perfectly fine. And the little circle that you saw was my opportunity to get 2 attacks off at once. But it takes my chain sock that I have saved up there, which I want to save for the leader, so no need to use it up here. Yeah, let's heal up Tarte with this first. I'm gonna go ahead and attack. 98 is not enough to kill. Maybe I'll do a regular attack. Okay. Since I'm attacking from 2 spaces away as a Lancer, he won't be able to counterattack. Can't afford to let Saul die, but I doubt he'll die from that range, so let's go ahead and move her here and just use magic to kill this guy. 94 is not enough, but as you can see, he has an earth element, which will make it so he's probably weak against wind. Yes, as you can see, it'll do 176 damage, which is more than enough to wipe this guy out. I'm also skipping animations for the spells and stuff like that because I've seen them many times before. Let's kill this guy. 25 damage is not too much to ask for. Okay. Let's do it like this then. Let's move her here. I can also charm that, but it doesn't seem necessary. 54 damage is fine. Now that the boar has been vanquished, I can actually get past his radius of influence, which is good. So I can now move Hamil over to this side and attack this guy by finishing him off. Very nice. Chain stock increased by 1 bar. Excellent. Great. So I'll be able to unleash multiple attacks with ease. Instead of healing her, I think I'll instead kill that guy. Healing and killing a guy saves about the same amount of HP, so I'm fine with this. But the fight is going well for me so far. But let's say something went wrong. I made a mistake, or there's like an action that I did that I really didn't want to do, and I'm rethinking my ideas about the strategy that I was doing. Then you can actually go here and go directly to rewind. Return to the beginning of each turn. This will actually allow you to see. Now this is the beginning of turn 1. This is the very beginning of the fight. I can return to the beginning of turn 2 and such. And there's no downside to using that at all. I mean, you know, it's a strategy game, but the way they kind of try to balance that out is that, let's say for example, I was trying to cast a magic spell on this guy and it missed. If I were to try to cast the same magic spell after rewinding time or rewinding turns, then it would have the same exact effect as before. So you can't just mess around with the RNG as much as you'd like, as far as the same circumstances go. But the way you can kind of go around that is by either attacking with a different person or using different positioning to get a different percentage chance of attack to land. So okay, yeah, I'm feeling pretty good about this fight so far. Let's go ahead and just end turn. That guy is not long for this world. He's attacking, which is the target I'd want him to hit, so that's fine. Typically speaking, I'd want to go around taking all the chests and stuff here too, but frankly, I don't really care. Yeah, attacking my elephant, are you? That's not gonna end well for you. Sao seems to be a very tough guy, but doesn't do a lot of damage, unfortunately. 1, 2. Yep, double attack. And there are things like a magic and technique. Well, magic I've already shown before, but let's take a look at a technique. And there's also these meters at the bottom for Hamil and Tarte. They have a special function. When they're full, you can actually use a special ability to go into an awakening mode. This is let's see. I guess this is Tarte's more powered up version. As you can see, her stats have shot up incredibly high, and I can probably murder this guy really fast now. Actually doesn't do that much damage. My regular attacks will probably... Oh, it actually... Oh, she has a radius of 3 in front of her. That's actually really good. Yeah, and he's dead. This was a pretty easy fight. I mean, I could have made it a lot harder and more interesting by trying to collect all the chests and kill the other guys that I didn't have to, but I didn't really feel like doing it because I'd run the risk of getting Sao or RTO killed, which would obviously put me at a fail state, and I want to avoid that, obviously. So, yeah, okay. And that was a nice little look at the combat. Positioning is very important. Using the right skills, depending on their weaknesses, also very important. And the ability to rewind time actually cuts away a lot of the frustration involved in playing SRPGs in general, which I think is a good idea. Wow, his sword is huge. But yeah, I mean, I could go deeper into the storyline, look at the customization of the characters, but outside of the way the combat is handled and the rather lengthy and in-depth nature of the story and the dialogue presented, I think it's not as important as those factors. So yeah, I'm just gonna call it here, since I'm apparently a very busy man today. Well, thanks for watching.